Hey, what's up everybody, Nexel here. Today we are playing Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, and we will be answering kind of an unusual question today. Now, the question we will be answering is, how do 2 damage and raids plus 40% traits stack? Now, I know that, again, it's a very unusual question, but there are actually 2 ways where this can work. So, I'm going to go ahead and put up some math that I did on the screen. So, there are 2 ways that the stacking could work. They could stack via addition, and that's when the 2 traits will apply to the metal at the same time. So it would get the 40% extra damage and then the 40% extra damage at the same time, making the metal do 80% more damage when you use it in raids. Now, this second one is a little bit more complicated, where the traits stack via compounding, and that means that the traits will be added to the metal one by one as opposed to as a group. So when the traits stack via compounding, that means that the first trait is going to be applied to the metal, and then it's going to be 1.4 times the amount of damage, and then the second trait applies to the metal, which would bring the total up to 96% more damage than normal. So that's really the question we are going to be answering today, and the reason it's important to kind of define this is because knowing how the traits work and knowing how they stack can potentially change the amount of damage output we do, and it would also give us some insight as to, is dual damage and raids worth it? Should I keep a different trait? Should I do like raids and extra attack, or raids and ground, or raids and aerials, and things like that? So that's why it's important, is because the faster you can get through those raid bosses, the more you can optimize the Lux hour, and then the more Lux you can get during things like ranking week, where that really matters. So we are going to go ahead and answer that question, and this is how we're going to do it. So as you can see here, this illustrated Kingdom Hearts 2 Kairi has 2 damage and raids plus 40% traits, and this is a metal that deals fixed damage. Now, the problem with other metals having dual damage and raids and trying to measure it is because there are a lot of fluctuations. So it's not like the metal is doing consistent damage every single time, because things like just random number generating, different attacks, different enemy defenses, if it's going to be a critical hit or not. But luckily with this metal, because it does fixed damage, we don't need to worry about all that extra complicated math. So that makes this really, really easy. So the metal has a base damage of 8,000, and it has a tier 5 guilt. So what happens is that 8,000 is going to be multiplied by 2.5, which is how much the guilt is going to make the metal, and that comes out to 20,000. So the base damage of a fully guilted illustrated Kingdom Hearts 2 Kairi is going to be 20,000 damage. Now, I already prepped the raid boss here, so we are going to go into this raid boss, and we are going to see how much damage Kairi does, and that's really going to answer the question for us. So if the traits stack via addition, the amount we're expecting to see is 36,000 hit points taken away from the boss. Now, if it stacks via compounding, we are going to do that base 20,000 damage, times that by 1.96, which is that 96% that we'll get from stacking, and then the damage we would see there is 39,200. So those are the 2 results we are expecting to see here. So let's go ahead and just dive right in and see how much damage this Kairi actually does. Alright, so let's take off this, because I don't want to completely obliterate the enemy that quickly. So the enemy starts out with 360,000 points of health. We're going to use the Kairi, and I don't know if you saw it on the screen there, but it definitely said 36,000 points of health. So we're going to, just to make sure, because when you do science, you always double check. So we took that initial amount of HP and subtracted it by 324,000, and we definitely get 36,000. So what that means is that the way the traits stack is via addition. So unfortunately, you are kind of getting the shorter end of the stick, because if they stacked via compounding, you would be doing a lot more damage and you could be getting through the raids faster. So that's this short little video. I know it was kind of unusual for some people, because I don't know how many people really make videos about game mechanics and how the mechanics of the game actually affect things like damage output and stuff, but just a quick video showing you that dual damage and raids traits, or even triple damage and raids traits, the way they stack is via addition. So you are going to be doing an extra 40% damage with the first trait, you are going to be doing 80% damage when you have 2 of the traits, and then you'll be doing an extra 120% damage with the 3rd trait if you are lucky enough to get that many damage and rage traits on the same medal. So with that being said, that's the video for today. I know it's kind of complicated. We did go into mechanics, we went into math. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to throw them in the comments below, and I will try my best to answer them. But hopefully this was just a little bit of information for people to kind of base their raids, fighting, damage dealing off of. So with that being said, that's the end of this video. Again, any questions, comments, or concerns, throw them down below, and I will try my best to answer. But as always, everyone, until the next time, take it easy.